Hi friends! So I'm coming out of a pretty intense year of productivity and I wanted to give a review of what that's been like. So I figured since this is my first video that I would start by introducing myself and the channel and kind of the journey I'm on. And after that, I wanted to go through some art progress since the main focus this year has been on art. From there, I'll go into the yearly review where I kind of go a bit deeper into how this year has gone for me. Finally, I'll look a bit into the future of what's ahead for me and the channel. So I won't go too deep into it on this video, but it is what this journey and what this channel is about for me in some sense. About 2 years ago, my girlfriend passed away. And after that, I made a commitment that I would take everything I felt around kind of what happened and use it as a catalyst for positive change in my life. I made a post on Reddit around when that happened. I'll link that in the description. The positive change involves everything from living a healthier life in terms of diet, nutrition, fitness, taking better care of myself mentally, also being more deliberate with how I spend my time. But at the core of this positive change is a game project I've decided to embark on. I had a plan to make a game with a good friend of mine for like a really long time. Hi, Tom. And when I told him that I wanted to do something after what happened to Liz, he kind of suggested that we make the game that something. That really lit a fire under me for this project. But I also realized that for what I wanted to do, I had to basically do it myself. Bye, Tom. For my day job, I work as head of engineering at a startup called SafeDoing. I've been at this company since basically the beginning, and I think we have a chance to create something pretty meaningful. So I have no intention of leaving this company anytime soon. But what that means then is if I want to have any chance of building a game at kind of the quality and the scope of what I'm aiming for, I need to get really serious about my productivity and how consistent I am in terms of working towards my goals. So that's where we are now. We have this game project that I've been working on for about a year and a half now, but most of that has been basically working on art, trying to learn how to draw or paint or whatever I'm supposed to call it digitally. The first year, it went okay. I had a lot of drive and a lot of motivation, which kind of made me feel like I could push through anything. But I didn't really have the tools in terms of knowing how to make it sustainable, and also didn't really know how to make the most out of my time, which brings us into the review of my art progress. So it's almost impossible to understate how bad I am, or I guess was, at art, kind of when I started out. That's also why I worked for several months on a game and kind of knew that I wanted to do it alone, but also considering doing the art was just completely out of the question. But I realized a couple of months in, when I started thinking about doing the art, that the fact that it feels like it's impossible for me is actually a really good reason to go after it. Because obviously I want to make a good game, like a high quality game. But what's more important to me in this project is kind of have just some sort of project where I can just pour my motivation and my energy into. And that's why it's fine that doing the art is really hard. Okay, so let's look at some art. I figured I would start kind of showing my starting point. It starts off here with actually the first drawing I ever drew, maybe in the last like 10-15 years or something. Obviously you draw a little bit when you're a kid, which everyone does, but I quickly started to draw as little as possible just because I was so bad at it. It is my honest-to-God attempt at drawing 3D cubes. From there, you can see some more attempts at drawing cubes. This is me trying to draw a diamond. Here is my attempt at a bird. I think I know who this is supposed to be, but I'm not going to tell you. And here is my self-portrait. This is when I had some hair, also drawing myself with headphones. So just looking at these drawings, it does kind of look like I'm not trying at all, which was kind of true, because when you don't know how to draw, you kind of just don't know how to try. Okay, now on to some more okay drawings. I'm still not very good, but I think I've improved a little bit at least. So the first two drawings are some pencil drawings, which I did together with Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. That book kind of gives you some hacks on how you can kickstart your drawing, which were really helpful to me. So here's some horse. This was drawn from a reference, basically, like trying to copy a picture in a book. And this is drawing from my hand. The next drawings are drawn with pen. They're assignments for an online art learning resource called drawabox.com, which is great. First here we have some form of plant, which I don't know what kind of plant it is. And then we have a rose, a scorpion, and a beetle of some sort. And then there is this a pelican, I think? Maybe a pelican? I don't know birds. I don't know animals in general. So those drawings were from the first half of this year. After that, I kind of moved on to starting to try drawing some digitally, where I started doing courses on a site called CGMA, which has been also pretty helpful. They have like 8-week courses, which costs a little bit, but you get an instructor and you get weekly assignments and you get reviews. So here we have my attempt. I think this was the first kind of actual digital painting I did. I haven't done many, but this was the first one, trying to draw my little sister. And then I had this one where I tried to kind of draw my big sister as the Uma Thurman in Kill Bill. Her face became a little like pudgy, or there's something off with her face, but I was quite happy with this still. And then we have some interior I drew. All of those drawings were kind of assignments for CGMA classes, so I never really got to spend that much time on any of them. So lately I've been trying to work a bit longer on 2 illustrations, one for each of my sisters. I figured I would show one of them here. It is still quite a work in progress and has a long way to go. And I also realized I'm way out of my depth in terms of what I'm trying to draw here. I guess I'm kind of happy with where I've gone so far. So here we have it in black and white. And then I tried today to add some color, which first time I'm doing it like this. So I don't know how the results came out, but I guess it's okay. So that's kind of where we are at with the art for now. From here, I want to start moving more directly into game art, but I also want to continue practicing kind of actual paintings or drawings or whatever, just to get good at being able to create a pretty picture somewhat, because this has become a skill that I'm more interested in developing now. So while I am relatively happy with the progress I've made in the arts department, I feel like where I'm more satisfied is in terms of how I've developed my routines and my habits, which kind of brings me into the yearly review. I'll go more into time tracking in the future, I'm sure. But one of the things I've gotten quite religious about this year is time tracking. I have these little cubes that I track basically every single hour of the day into 16 different buckets. I think I can show what the output of those time trackers is, maybe here. So I have a really good idea of how I spent my time this year. I think I have about 300 days where I tracked 24 hours a day, and then 65 days then which I didn't track at all, either because I'm traveling or just not time tracking or whatever. In those 300 days, I spent about 1,050 hours working on the game and the art and stuff like that, which comes out at 3.5 hours per day, which I'm really happy with. More so because it's been 3.5 hours each day, something I do as a routine, not working 16 hours, 2 days in the weekend every now and then. But the reason why I'm doing time tracking is not really to look into what I'm spending my time on. It is more just to be really deliberate about how I spend my time. So when I decide to do something, I kind of set the timer for it, and then I sit down, and that's what I do. Another thing I started doing this year is tracking habits. There is a subreddit called the X Effect, which lets people post goals and then check them off and then share their success there. I started doing this in February, where I think I started with tracking nutrition, diet, and fitness or something like that. But then I quickly realized how potent this was for me. So after February, in March, I ramped up to 9 habits. And then April and onwards, I've had like 12 different habits that I track. You can see how that has gone here. I don't know how to show this, but I guess I will figure something out in editing. I've had basically 2 kind of bad months. One is in June where things just fell apart a little bit, and then in August where I was traveling. Traveling has kind of always been a little bit of a nemesis for me in terms of productivity, because when I'm in my routine, I kind of think of myself as like a freight train where I build up momentum, and then if there's no interruptions, I just don't stop. But then when there does come an interruption, everything stops. And I also have a tendency to rationalize if I know there is an interruption coming. I can kind of say like, oh, it's fine to stop doing my habits now because I know I'm going to be traveling 3 days from now. So I can just like lie in bed and be a potato for the rest of those 3 days. So the fact that there's been a lot less traveling this year for all of us has definitely not hurt my habit tracking. Habit tracking is one of those things that has been really helpful for me this year. But that kind of brings me to what's up next for me and for this channel. In terms of me and the game project, as I mentioned, I kind of want to still continue learning art generally. But this year, I also want to start moving towards making art for the game. The kind of end goal I have in mind for the next yearly update, so 25th of November in 1 year, is that I want to have a vertical slice of the game where I can kind of just have landed on an art style and can show some core gameplay elements. And from there, I can kind of start actually plucking away at making the game more fleshed out. So for the channel itself, I will include updates on how it's going with the game, but the main focus will be on things like what this video has been about, like building healthy habits or trying to stay more productive or anything in that ballpark. So when I'm recording this video, I'm sitting here at 0 views and 0 subscribers. So I hope if anyone made it this far that they will take the time to follow me on this journey. The next 2 videos I have planned is one will be about how to manage a side project together with a job, kind of like how I'm doing with my game. And the other video will be about building positive habits and breaking negative habits and anything I've learned in that general area. So I think that kind of covers my basis for this yearly update. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.